It is 5 o'clock, so I will call to order this meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee. We'll start with the roll. Alder Feldy.
Present.
Alder Ackley.
Here.
Alder Flicky-Pineski. Alder Perella. Alder Perella is excused. Mitchell is here. We have a quorum. Will you all please stand and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, then, barring any objections, we will skip over introductions and move on to item 5, which is approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Is there any discussion on the minutes? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on approving the minutes from the November 14th meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. Minutes are approved. Next up, we have item number 6, which is RO number 87 of 2223, submitting a request regarding the purchase of 1214 South 11th Street for moving of the residential home to another city-owned site and reconstruction of the failing city-owned retaining wall.
Thank you, Chair. Scott, can you get my computer up on the screen? Oh, not that. Let me just see here once. So, sorry. Is it going? No. It's a double screen issue. Can you go to the document in the agenda? Any chance? So anyway, what's happening here is I'm going to try to show you some photographs and what's going on. But the Department of Public Works has identified through a number of constituent complaints over the time that a city-owned retaining wall adjacent to the property at 1214 South 11th Street has been failing. And when I can show you some pictures, you'll see why that is indeed happening. But at any rate, the concrete wall is about 1.5 feet from the person's foundation. So the house sits right there and the alley goes up right next to it. Perfect. So you can see from, and I'm sorry that this, and talked about different options. And one option was to buy the house and demolish it, reconstruct the retaining wall, and then look at reselling that parcel. Another option was to buy it from the current owner, who is Toby Watson, and try to move forward. And then we found out that the owner of the person living, the tenant, has a land contract to purchase it, and they're like, wait a minute, what about us? So that was all put on hold. So right now, the option that appears to be the best is for the city to purchase the property from the tenant for $112,630, and then we would pay some relocation costs. So they, typically relocation costs can run anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. Normally it's $100,000 by the time you move somebody out of their house under relocation. They're willing to agree to a $55,000 payout for relocation, and we would make sure that all the documents cover what our liabilities are and that we're following relocation requirements. We would allow the tenant to live in the property until April 30th of 2023, and then at that time they would completely vacate the property, and then instead of just tearing the house down, the city would move this house to a lot that we own on Indiana Avenue, across from the roughly across from the Bourbon Street pub. So in that block, the city owns a vacant lot that would allow this house, and you can see the bottom image there, would allow this house to be moved to this lot. We've talked to moving company and have confirmed that that is indeed possible for about $20,000. We would have to build a new basement for the property of about $30,000. We would use federal block grant dollars to cover these expenses, and then ultimately put the house at that location back on the market. And the reason we're looking at this is because we all know we have a housing shortage. And instead of just tearing the house down to fix the retaining wall, we thought that this was a win-win for us to get the tenant out, buy the house, move the house, and then keep a house on our inventory, ultimately sell it, and hopefully be able to recoup a good portion of the costs that we have in this. So the Department of Public Works has budgeted about $250,000 for repairs on this retaining wall, but has not executed it because of the issues with the house being right there. Our plan then would be Public Works would remove the retaining wall, regrade the slope down. I'm not an engineer, but Ryan Sasma has assured me that this can happen. And then we would turn around and sell this property to the adjacent automotive company for more side yard, which they're interested in purchasing it, so we don't have to maintain that long term. So this is basically kind of laying out what would happen to this in order to fix this retaining wall. But in order for the tenant to receive financing from Wisconsin Bank and Trust to close on the loan to buy the property, because right now somebody else owns it and they have a land contract that they would have been paying over multiple years. They're looking for a letter of intent that once they own the property, the city is willing to move forward with kind of the plan that is laid out here to buy the property, allow them to stay in there until April, and then move them out of there by April and then start the construction after that. So we're really, sorry there was a long-winded answer, but we're really looking for approval to be able to draft a letter of intent to the lender that it is our intent to move forward with the proper paperwork and closing documents, provided that the tenant is able to purchase the property and get it in their name.
Questions, comments, Alder Perella?
Yeah, so it seems so odd that all this is needed because of this wall. I mean, it seems really, to me, it seems so complex that I didn't even understand the beginning of it. So I do understand. I went to look at the wall, so I understand the problem because basically it's next to the house, and it's clear to me that it's not easy to fix it. But I don't understand the part in which you are going to pay. We are going to pay for the house, potentially $112,000. Then we have to move the tenant for $55,000 wherever they want, obviously, right? I mean, just to move out. And then we move the house somewhere else, and maybe we will sell it there at Indiana. Why do we need to give again the $55,000 to the tenant?
Because under the Uniform Relocation Act, if the city is purchasing property that is occupied, we're subject to relocation expenses as a government entity.
So the owner...
That's why sorry to interrupt, that's why you'll see a lot of times when we buy properties, we don't close on them until the property is vacant, so we're not subject to the uniform relocation laws. But the fact that there's a tenant here, we are subject to them. And in previous deals, we have paid as much as $100,000 for relocation costs. So we thought that the $55,000 was a deal if we can get the tenant out of there.
Right, so then it's not possible for the landlord to give notice to the tenant and...
We tried that, and the landlord has this land contract in place with the tenant to buy this property, and the tenant went back away from that.
Okay. So that is the key of it, basically?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other? Alder Flicky-Paneski.
Yes, thank you. I am very impressed with how many players there are in this particular proposal and how long it's taken to get all the players at the table to say yes to all of the contingencies. So I say if it's going to work, let's go for it. Yep, I move. Can I move? I move that we approve the process.
Or authorize staff to issue the letter of intent that we would
Perfect.
ultimately move forward with the whole plan as a whole thing.
That's what I said. Thank you.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second then. Is there any other discussion on this one? If not, all in favor of approval, please indicate by saying aye.
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 All opposed, chair votes aye. The ayes have it, the motion passes. That one is approved, and we are on to item number 7, which is resolution number 90 of 2223, a resolution authorizing retaining outside legal counsel to represent the city regarding grievance number 22-1, filed by the International Association of Firefighters, Local 483, and authorizing payment for said services.
I can answer any questions that you have about this. This is a matter that, because we're at this point, we're so busy that we really just need to go to outside to take care of it, to make sure it gets done right and timely.
Do we have any questions on the resolution? Comments? Alder Flicky-Pineski?
So typically, does your office work on the other side of these grievances?
I don't think I can give an answer as to typically. Prior to 2015, we typically did not. Prior to 2015, they almost all went to outside counsel.
Okay.
Since 2015, we've kept most of them in-house. But at this point, we're just too overwhelmed with work that, yeah.
Okay.
And our office will work with Attorney Gulia. We'll be co-counsel on it.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Alder Feldy?
Is this because the contract is coming due again, or they're at the end of this contract?
No.
And we're just looking for somebody to fill in?
This is just a grievance, so
Oh.
they filed a grievance under the contract. We're aware that there's probably going to be or has been a second grievance, which we'll handle similarly, and we're just hiring outside counsel to help us through the grievance process.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Perella?
So I apologize for my ignorance, but who is International Association of Fight? I mean, the name speaks to itself, but which entity is this?
The fire union.
So it is the grievances, the grievance is from the fire union?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, then seeing no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it, the motion passes. Thank you. And that brings us to item number 8, which is resolution number 92 of 2223, a resolution authorizing submitting a substantial amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant Program for the 2022 program year from revolving loan funds to water and sewer improvements.
Thank you, Chair. So the City of Sheboygan Department of City Development administers 2 revolving loan funds on behalf of the city. One is for business creation, one is for housing rehabilitation. After some time, Caitlin's team has been able to reconcile the loan funds and determine the amount of unspent money in the revolving loan funds. And that number is about 1.3 million. So at this point, there's no way that we anticipate being able to spend that money in a timely process to make the demands of HUD. So we're recommending reprogramming of 700,000 of those funds to be dedicated to the reconstruction of Broadway Avenue. It's a project that the Department of Public Works is bidding right now and planning to reconstruct from South 7th Street to South 14th Street in 2023. So in order to reprogram these funds, we need to go through a substantial amendment process and a 30-day public comment period to receive public input. So we will do that after the council agrees with this. But just so that the committee knows, we revolve about 400,000, give or take, in each year between outstanding business loans and outstanding housing loans. And with the reprogramming, we would still have a balance of about 600,000 between the two programs. And I don't have anything in the hopper that's coming in other than a few small loans, business loans for maybe 50 to 75,000. So I think the reprogramming this versus HUD taking this money back is probably better for us in putting it into a public improvement project to get the money on the street versus dealing with a timeliness issue of trying to spend this amount of money in the time frame that we have. So we're looking for consent to submit the substantial amendment after the 30-day public comment period to HUD to reprogram these funds to water and sewer improvements.
Alder Perrella? Flicky Paneski?
Thank you very much.
It was a holiday recently.
It was. So this is going not to pave the street, this is going for the infrastructure underneath the street?
Yes, it'll go, it's a $3 million project, so it'll go into the project. It'll probably be all of the above. It's not dedicated to, they award a contract for $3 million and $700,000 of it will come from this money.
Okay, so this says revolving loan funds to water and sewer improvements.
That's the eligible activity under the federal item. This project is, this reconstruction of Broadway Avenue is a replacement of a 65-inch storm sewer, so the majority of it will probably go into sewer improvements.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other discussion on this one? I'll do my best to remember everybody's names this time around.
Not a problem.
If not, we'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second then. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. With that, we are on to item 9. A note that our next meeting will be on December 12th, 2022, and we have exhausted our agenda and are looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Seeing no discussion on adjournment, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Chair votes aye. The ayes have it. The motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Okay. I'm hungry.
Bye, Betty.